And thank you for your interest in today's Responsible Business event, delivered in partnership between Community Planning Aberdeen and Business in the Community. The event will be recorded and will consist of three main sections: helping our people and economy, helping our children and young people, and helping our place. You will hear from our responsible business partners who are working with Community Planning Aberdeen to achieve shared priorities for the city. Throughout the event, please send us your questions by using the chat function in Microsoft Teams, and you'll see the speech icon button at the top of the Teams window and the chat in the side panel. Feel free to share your questions as they come to mind. These will be collated at the end for a Q&A and shared with the panel. We will try to respond to as many of your questions as possible, but if we run out of time, we will still endeavour to capture those questions and share answers with you afterwards, either over email or on our Responsible Business webpage. We will also use the Microsoft poll function, which will allow you to answer 3 set questions during the event, and the event will close at 12 noon. I'm now delighted to pass over to Councillor Jenny Lang, Leader of Aberdeen City Council and Chair of Community Planning Aberdeen, who will open the event.
Thanks very much, Tanita, and good morning to everybody. For those of you who don't know me, as Tanita says, I'm Jenny Lang, Leader of Aberdeen City Council and Chair of the Community Planning Aberdeen. So let me start by saying I'm absolutely delighted to be able to welcome you all to this morning's online event, which is our second Aberdeen Responsible Business event. We held our first event in October last year, and 1 year on, I had hoped we would be able to all come together and meet in person. But as the pandemic restrictions continue to be necessary, that has unfortunately not been possible. However, the wonders of technology do allow us to come together virtually. And once again, it's fantastic to be joined by so many of you from across the public, private and third sectors. Now, Community Planning Aberdeen is a strategic partnership of public and third sector organisations who are committed to working together to improve outcomes across the city. Over recent years, we have been seeking to work more closely with what we know is an engaged, responsible business community in Aberdeen. We believe by forging closer links with responsible businesses in the city, we can help to coordinate and channel resources to causes and communities that are most in need. Our event today is both a celebration of the progress we have made in collaborating with a growing network of responsible business partners across the city. And it also gives us the opportunity to highlight some of the fantastic work they have been doing to assist the public response to the pandemic. It has been truly inspiring to see so many companies willing to step up and spring into action to support people, communities, and indeed other businesses who have been most vulnerable during this time. Today, you're going to hear from some of our key responsible business partners about how they are supporting the efforts of Community Planning Aberdeen in both the short and longer term recovery of the city. Our business leaders will demonstrate what can be achieved by working with community planning partners and communities to ensure Aberdeen is a place where all people can prosper. Now, these are not just mere words. This is the vision set by Community Planning Aberdeen within our shared local outcome improvement plan. And by delivering the outcomes detailed within the plan, we seek to ensure everyone in the city has the opportunity to thrive, flourish and succeed, regardless of their background or circumstances. This plan certainly cannot be delivered by one single organisation or partner. Indeed, it is clear that we all have a part to play in providing these opportunities, and we hope that today will provide you with the chance to think about what you can do to contribute to us achieving our collective goal. It could be you consider providing mentoring or work experience for a care experienced young person. or you may look at changing your corporate policy to encourage staff to volunteer in their community, or you might commit to becoming a real living wage employer. Now, these are just a few examples of the steps other responsible businesses have taken, but there are many other things you can do to contribute to our city and many ways to have a positive impact on communities across Aberdeen. You're going to hear more about these examples and others through the course of the morning, which I hope you will find both informative and enjoyable. So with no more ado, I would like to hand over to Alan Thornborough from Business in the Community, who is going to talk to us about the responsible businesses' response to the recovery. Over to you, Alan. Thank you.
So Jenny, thank you very much indeed for your opening remarks. And again, to reiterate, we're really pleased to be here and supporting this second event, which is gathering responsible businesses together, I think for the good of the city. This incidentally built on a conference. Sorry, I'm quite tall, so I'll just adjust this a wee bit so you can see me better. This built on a conference that our colleagues at CNOC hosted 2 years ago, and it was very much about the power of the collective. And that's what brings us here today. I think, as Jenny shared, none of us can solve any of the challenges that we face in isolation. And there are great opportunities to be gained from solving those challenges. So if I may, I'll just take a few moments to touch on some of that. So Tanita, if I could have the next slide, please. For those that don't know me, so I'm the Director of Business in the Community in Scotland, and we are the largest and oldest network of responsible business across the country. We're founded by the Prince of Wales nearly 40 years ago, and we number about 600 businesses in total, and they're right across the economy and all parts of the UK. And so about 6 million workers are employed by BITC member companies. And over the last 18 months in particular, we've seen a huge engagement of employees who are really keen to make a difference to their communities, both right here in Aberdeen, but right across the UK as well. At the beginning of the crisis, we set up a national business response network, which has since had about 5,000 significant offers matched to communities with things like food, technology, and a raft of other supports as well. And what that has reminded us of is just how much people want to be a part of engaging with communities and supporting those around them, and removing some of those barriers that we know exist to prosperity. So if we could move on to the next slide, please, Tanita. One of the things that we authored a little bit earlier in the course of the pandemic was a report on building back responsibly. And everybody had their own take on that, whether it was build back better, build forward better. But building back responsibly, by definition, we are responsible businesses. And so many of the organisations, both in this room today and far beyond within the city of Aberdeen, get that. But there's a rich history of working with the city and supporting communities right across the board. But I think the opportunity for us today, and the reason that we're here and we've been working with Community Planning Aberdeen, is because there's a real chance to knit our skills, experience and passion together for the benefit of the whole city. And I think, as we were just talking about earlier before people joined here, it's great that maybe people want to be involved in supporting local schools, but there is a great deal of work to be done. And how can we share both the skills and experiences we've got with the needs that are on the ground and well evidenced in the local outcome improvement plans? So one of the things that I can't not mention is the energy transition, and particularly here in Aberdeen today. We've just concluded some research that we launched headlines of through COP26, which doesn't seem that long ago. And that was very much about the just transition. And for me, the just transition, local outcome improvement plans, working with communities, they are one and the same thing. You cannot have a just transition and a decarbonising of the economy without bringing communities with you. and without bringing employees with you. And we know that this has been a hard 18 months or so. Research we did just earlier this year on the impact of the pandemic on mental health and well-being has been stark. We've seen a real increase in mental ill health at work. Indeed, 41% of people surveyed, and this is a significant survey across the UK, cited a decline in mental ill health where work was either a contributing factor or work was the factor. And in some cases, we've seen increases in the working week of 12.5 hours. So people are stretched. We would probably all recognise the Zoom call after Teams call after Skype calls that we've become used to, but it's not sustainable. And one of the things that I think we were calling on in that particular report is we need to get back to looking at good job design. And this pandemic and the emergence from it gives us that opportunity, is almost to reset what a good and sustainable economy and community looks and feels like. So let me just share some of the highlights from the research that we undertook on Just Transition. So quite surprisingly, only 1 in 10 people, and we surveyed over 8,000 right across the UK, up and down, length and breadth, from all backgrounds, ethnicities, age groups and otherwise, only 1 in 10 people think their jobs will be affected by the transition or that they'll need new skills. And while lots of policy papers will tell us different, that's a pretty stark finding. So, 90% of us think that everything will be okay. And 90% of us perhaps don't recognise there will be real opportunity to be had here. It's not all glass half full. It is very much, glass half empty. It is glass half full. Of those that think their employer, or of those that are aware of what their, so of those 1 in 10 rather, 57% don't think their employer is doing enough to prepare them with new skills and new opportunities for the transition. And a quarter actually don't know what their employers are doing. And that's set against a huge body of individuals within employment up down the country that are looking for leadership from businesses. And so why I mention all of this is it is completely interconnected with what our colleagues at Community Planning Aberdeen are doing, with what's in the local outcome improvement plans, and with the energy transition. They go hand in hand. So if we could move on to the next slide, and it really underlines what I've just said. 3/4 of us want businesses to act on climate change. And we heard that loud and clear at COP26. So 3/4 of people, I'm not sure what the other quarter thought, but nevertheless, that's a huge mandate and it's a huge task. So we know already that, net zero goes far beyond energy transition. It's down to the packaging, it's down to the food waste and all sorts of other things that we generate as businesses and that we have responsibility for as individuals as well. I mentioned before, so only 1/4 of companies know that, what their customers are doing, and similar numbers almost know what their companies are doing. But the thing that kind of struck me with this research is an awful lot of people, 2/3, don't trust that businesses will follow through with commitments that they've made. And so we were talking again before a lot of people joined here about the commitments of 20, 30, 40, 50. We heard loud and clear through COP, there's a real demand for action now, and that action has to correlate with the local outcome improvement plans in our mind. So just move on ever so briefly. I'm mindful of time, and then we'll pass on to colleagues. One of the things that I just want to mention is we created 7 steps for action. And that's not just about decarbonising, but it is about how decarbonising comes together with social justice and a better outcome for lots of people who have been left behind, not just in Aberdeen, but right across the course of the UK. So I think that's almost the challenge statement. What I would say is we know that there is real opportunity, both for the city, for people to get a better lot in life, and for businesses of all sizes and shapes. So let's come together, let's work in partnership, let's tackle the challenges and the opportunities as a team. And we are much stronger together than we are on our own. I'd just like to say a very brief thank you to Jenny for her opening remarks, to Michelle, to Nita and team at Community Planning Aberdeen for all the work they're doing, and of course to you as responsible businesses, both here in the room today and online, for what you're doing. Let's do more together, and let's help Aberdeen to shine in the years ahead. Thank you very much. I'll now pass to Michelle, and she'll help us launch the rest of the morning's discussions. Michelle.
Thank you very much, Alan. I'm a lot shorter than Alan, so I'm going to adjust down here. Thanks very much to Councillor Lang and Alan for really setting the scene for this morning and putting what I'm about to say in context. So both have talked about Community Plan in Aberdeen, our local outcome improvement plan. So I just wanted to spend a wee bit more time on that for those of you that are new to Community Planning Aberdeen and want to hear a bit more about that. So Community Plan in Aberdeen, that's the name of our community planning partnership in Aberdeen. Now, there are 32 community planning partnerships in Scotland, one in each local authority area. So it's a statutory duty for public services to work together with broader community planning partners. In Aberdeen, we have 13 core members that sit on our Community Planning Aberdeen board, which is the top decision-making group of our structure, and that's the group that Councillor Lane chairs. And underneath that group, we have several groups taking forward the improvement work that we are responsible for. So those are our 13 core partners on the board, but we have lots more organisations, community groups, and also more recently, private organisations joining us to improve outcomes for the city. So the thing that binds us as a partnership organisation is our local outcome improvement plan. So that's our guiding strategy. That's where we set out what we will do and how we will do it. And it sets out, very importantly, our city vision, which is Aberdeen as a place where all people can prosper. And that's regardless of people's background or circumstances, which is very relevant in Aberdeen City. As most of you will know, the inequalities in Aberdeen have been stark over the years, and a lot of that's been caused by the great wealth that we have in this city from oil and gas. But it means that there are other communities and other people in our city that have not been able to take advantage of those opportunities that suffer poorer outcomes as a result of that. So the local outcome improvement plan is all about ensuring everyone in the city prospers, and part of that is targeting our most vulnerable groups and communities, but also ensuring that all our people have the opportunities to thrive and do well. So this is a summary of the local outcome improvement plan, which, as you can imagine, ensuring that Aberdeen is a place where all people can prosper, easier said than done, and there's a lot of work that goes into that. So what you're seeing on the screen is our 15 key priorities, our strategic priorities that all those partners that I've just talked to you about are coming together and taking forward collaborative improvement activity to achieve these 15 priorities. So I'll not read through them all in detail one by one. I'll invite you to have a look at our LOIP. But as you can see, they are structured under 3 strategic themes of economy, people and place. Now, what I have to say is all of these outcomes are interrelated, so they really do cover all of these themes, but this is a way of kind of breaking down that high-level vision we want to achieve for Aberdeen into manageable, achievable chunks. And so you'll not be surprised to hear that sitting under those 15 stretch outcomes, we also have 75 improvement projects. So a lot of work to take forward to ensuring that we are taking action and that we are able to understand the impact of that action and evidence that it is resulting in the achievement of these aims for people across the city. So that's an overview of the partnership and an overview of the strategy we are trying to achieve. So what's the role for businesses? Well, I think we increasingly became aware that we had a very engaged business community across the city, businesses that were already working out in the community to support perhaps their local school or their local organisations, and businesses that had a real drive to do more. And that certainly came to the forefront during the pandemic, as we heard from Councillor Lane. What we wanted to do was to support businesses to be able to get in contact with us sooner and on an ongoing basis, because it's not just during the pandemic that businesses have something to offer. In terms of our longer term recovery of this city and the achievement of that local outcome improvement plan, there are lots of opportunities for businesses to get involved. So this on the screen is a screenshot of our online corporate social responsibility platform that we developed. It's a web page for businesses that you can go to, and what we essentially do on this web page is we give you information about how you can help. Now, this is information about the opportunities we've identified right across our projects. There are key links where we think that we could connect better with business organisations. But I would have to say that we also know that you yourself will have ideas about how you can support the community that we've not even thought of. And we're going to hear about some of those good examples in the programme today. From the platform, you'll also be able to find out more information about what the benefits for you are. Now, of course, it's a given that supporting your local communities and people across the city is a benefit for you, but we do go a bit further in terms of just those networking opportunities that being involved in the partnership enables you to have, meeting colleagues and taking forward projects that are of benefit to your organisation also. There are lots of different ways that you can engage with community plan in Aberdeen. So becoming a partner can mean different things. And again, we'll hear about that on the programme today. But you can also access our expertise, and we've got lots of expertise across the community plan and partnership. You'll already be aware, I'm sure, of lots of the services that partner organisations offer, but there's something that, for example, NHS Grampian offers specifically for businesses that you may have taken advantage of already, are Healthy Working Lives initiatives, which supports you to ensure that your workforce has that kind of healthy work and life balance. There are lots of examples where we can support your organisation in terms of the development of your staff and volunteering and so on. So there is a return for you, and we're also very willing to work with you to discuss what that might be. And just ready access to our data that can help you inform your own corporate strategy, your own CSR strategy, and just your building and development of your business as well. So those are just some of the benefits. I'll just go a wee bit drill deeper into our themes. So when you come onto the platform, if you've not already had the chance to look at it, what we do is we provide some high-level information about each of those examples that we've recognised under our themes. Where we give you that information, we also share where it links to our local outcome improvement plan, so you're really clear about how it fits in with the greater strategy of the city, and we also will connect you in with the leads of each of the projects, so you've got that point of contact and someone that you can work with to put these initiatives in place. And as I say, the opportunities that we have on our website at the moment are just those that we've thought of around our project teams at the moment, or we've learned from you as responsible businesses already, and keen to share that practice. So really keen always to get a fresh perspective and fresh thinking from yourselves. So that's our Help Our Economy. We've also got Help Our People section, which we break into help children and young people, and we've got our vulnerable adult section. Again, the same information, and we've got a section on place as well. And you will see across our themes, we do try to make the link to the global goals for you, which we recognise as a kind of common language amongst all of our sectors that we're increasingly using. So you will be able to link these projects, initiatives right back to the global goals if that's what you're using within your organisations as part of your CSR strategy. So that's all from me. I'm now going to pass on to Tanita, who's just going to talk you through a bit about the progress we've made since we launched this last October and some of the businesses we've had come on board. Thanks, Tanita.
Thanks, Michelle. As you can see, a lot of work has been done over the past year to share opportunities on the Responsible Business Platform. During this time, we've been keeping a track of our progress using data too. Since December 2020, we have seen more businesses committed to working and collaborating with Community Planning Aberdeen. Businesses have also stepped up during COVID-19 and donated digital devices and made contributions to assist tackling the digital divide in the city. COVID-19 has brought to the surface existing inequalities and exacerbated those. So our responsible business partners have been working with Community Planning Aberdeen to be proactive in trying to help those most in need in the city. So our list of responsible business partners is growing, and we actually have a few more to add to the list you can see here. And whether they are delivering through community benefits or through their corporate social responsibility efforts, we can be sure that their impact has been significant. Although we are going to hear from a few of our responsible business partners this morning, we also have examples of activities that other partners have undertaken which have had a positive impact. To name a few, these include CMS, who've provided learning opportunities for young people, and BP, who've donated laptops to help those in need across the city. Another example is CHAP Civil's team, who completed a groundworks project on behalf of a local community initiative as part of their community benefit delivery earlier this year. The Youth Hub is an area for local young people and has benches, free Wi-Fi and street art in place. CHAP cleared and levelled the area in preparation for the next phase of the Youth Hub. So those are some highlights from the kind of work we've been doing with responsible business partners. Now I'm delighted to now move on to our first section, which is helping our people and economy, and introduce our first responsible business partner speaker, Stuart Brown from Barclays, who will tell us more about how Barclays are investing in our communities.
Morning, thank you very much. Just adjust this slightly. I'm Stuart Brown, Head of Branch and Business Banking in Scotland, and grew up in the North East, so I'm delighted to come back here and speak more about how Barclays are supporting the community. So just moving on to the next slide, just a small piece about Barclays. So Barclays have been in Scotland in its current form for around about 70 years. And currently our branch is situated on the corner of Bridge Street and Union Street, the old C&A building, led by George Hunter, our branch manager there, who's been embedded in the community and doing a lot in the community. We also have business and corporate team in the Silver Fin building, and just last year we opened up our Ego Lab within the One Codebase building at School Hill, which we'll talk about a bit later. We've got around about 20 staff across all those, and all very passionate about helping in the community. Just one piece of trivia before moving on, and the first member of the Barclays family to be involved in banking was from the North East. So James Barclay was the son of a Scotsman that grew up down in Uri in Stonehaven. So it's always great. I always use that across my colleagues down south as well to show that Barclays has its Scottish roots. So moving on, there's various areas of support that Barclays provide, and we've got a strong passion about rebuilding thriving local economies. And that comes in various forms that we are already doing, and we can do more of as it goes forward. So one of those key things is Barclays Life Skills. And that's all about building skills, knowledge and confidence in individuals, whether that's young, old, whatever age and need they have. There are hundreds of modules within the life skills, And they help individuals. There's elements there of parents to deliver for children, for teachers to deliver, for organisations to deliver, and for employers to deliver. We ourselves deliver some of those modules in schools. 88% of schools across Scotland have benefited from the life skills, whether it's through us directly or through teachers. And we've done a number of those across the North East ourselves. But we also do train the trainer events so that we can help organisations be able to deliver that themselves and be much more effective and useful for that. And they cover things, such as the finance element, as you would expect from a bank, but that education about bank accounts, credit scoring, etc., but also employment skills, interview skills. So there's modules there, but we also sit down and help people do role plays through interviews so that they'll be more successful in jobs. Problem solving, mental health aspect, how to overcome challenges. Lots of fantastic modules there that can help people. So you see on the screen there, Barclays Life Skills, just go onto a search engine and type that in and you'll see everything there. You can register for it. It's free for everyone to use. And I strongly encourage people to look at that and see how it can help them in their businesses, in their schools, in the community. There's lots of fantastic elements there. And then moving on, there's also digital. We know in today's society, digital is absolutely key, and we've certainly seen that accelerated through the pandemic. And for the future as well, that's where it needs to be. So again, we have free content learning round about the digital, and that's right from the basics of starting up a computer, using it to apply for universal credit, being upskilled in all the different devices that you have, be able to use those, through to coding. And we've ran various sessions and events physically, virtually over the past 18 months with adults and with children around these various elements, including coding. And that's a key thing for the future, the jobs of the future. We've helped nurses, we've helped carers learn more about digital so they can help the residents interact with their families. These are all things that we're able to help. And we've also got a platform called Digital Wings that we'll be working alongside the council to see how can we collectively work and cascade that out across the area that helps. And that means everybody can dip in and dip out of that to see what do they need help with along the way. So moving on, there are various other elements there. Sorry, just back one slide. In the community. So money mentors. So we have our individuals who will sit down on a one-to-one basis with individuals and just take them through that budgeting, how to make money work for them. And that's nothing to do, everything I'm speaking about today is nothing to do with Barclays products, etc. This is all to do with how we help in the community. So we will sit down with somebody and go through their income and their outgoings and say, do you need this? How can we help? What are your ambitions? How can we help you get that? And just that whole budgeting piece. And that works really well. We've worked with Aberdeen City Council on a number of aspects around about Aberdeen young carers. So we identified that there's amazing things that young carers do out there. So we introduced awards, quarterly awards, to reward those people. And that's, as I understand it, that's now moving on to more a biannual aspect, and on the back of that, doing some team events to help those young carers along the way. And also with new residents from Afghanistan, and using that in terms of a fundamental thing these days for all of us is having bank accounts. Opening bank accounts can be challenging if you don't have an address. So we've worked, and George, to his credit, has worked hard internally with the bank to be able to get the power to be able to open these things. And we've worked strongly with the council to be able to help those people open bank accounts and give them a great start for being here in the North East. And in fact, that work has then helped. We've had other councils reach out to us and say, this is great, how can we benefit from it? And this all started from our work with Aberdeen City Council. The teams here work in various elements out there in the community, such as Aberdeen Beach Clean, helping care homes with their gardens, etc. I personally I'm a trustee on a local charity, Inspire, in Aberdeen, and you get great satisfaction of being able to help and put my skills into that. And many others in our team do exactly the same, work with local organisations to help put our skills and help into this community. And then fundraising for local based charities. Our colleagues have a real passion for helping out, and always they can. So they will do fundraising, and the bank has a matched funding mechanism. So anything that is raised gets matched pound for pound by the bank, and that all helps those local charities. Also, during the pandemic, the bank had a COVID community fund, where it would look to provide money to the grants to the various organisations that have helped people during the pandemic and helped do more of that work. And various organisations in Aberdeen have benefited from that. So moving on in terms of looking at the business side. So the business, we have local business bankers here face to face who are sitting down and helping businesses start up, grow and scale. And it's really interesting. You know, it's been a challenging time over the last 18 months for businesses, of course it has. And the key thing is to be able to speak to somebody and see how it can help. But also what we've seen is a lot of great initiatives of businesses starting up. When you're starting up a business, you know, where you need a lot of advice and a lot of direction. So again, it's us working with them, working with the likes of Business Gateway, etc., locally to help drive that forward and help them grow and scale. We have a social business proposition that we launched just recently, and I've been involved with that for the past 2 years because, you know, personally I've got a great passion. I mentioned about Inspire. I'm also involved in another charity in Edinburgh. A great passion for social businesses and the benefit they make. And there's been a huge uplift in social businesses during the pandemic. We have a proposition there that we help people, not just with the banking services, those organisations, banking services, but there is mentoring. We've got partnerships with organisations that then help get some knowledge and help into the social businesses to help them develop. And then, you know, investing in Women Code. So Barclays are heavily involved in investing in Women Code, which is about a commitment to see, you know, 100,000 women start their own businesses and drive that forward. You know, there's that general aspect of not enough capital being invested into women-led businesses, and we're there to drive that forward. And then last but not by no means least is our Eagle Labs, which is if we just move on to the next slide, I'll talk a bit more about the Eagle Labs. So the Eagle Lab, as I say, we've got one in School Hill in the one code-based building. There's 28 Eagle Labs across the whole of the UK. This is the largest incubator network in the UK. And there's thousands of businesses that we help with that. There's thousands of residents across those 28 entities. So you can imagine the great connectivity that we can have across that network. And what we learn from that. We run, you know, events consistently to help businesses along that way. We've got arrangements with mentoring, so Codebase, Investing Women, Cambridge Judge Business School, all provide mentors to help the businesses along the way through the Eagle Lab. There's cross-site collaboration, so we've introduced businesses from Aberdeen to businesses in Brighton, in London, and they work together to be able to drive things forward. There's growth opportunities there. We've got arrangements with Silicon Valley and San Francisco, so technology companies who want to be able to see what it's like there, or work with there, or raise money there. We link in with that. There's industry specialisms. Energy tech is a big thing that we started in Aberdeen, again because of the industry here, but that's all about taking the large corporates and the small SMEs and startups together to see how can they work together to benefit the whole aspect. So all this has been in existence and continues to be in existence, but during the pandemic that's had to go on a virtual basis, but we've converted all that on a virtual basis to make sure the businesses still get that. And again, if anybody's interested in that, you know, it's search Barclays Eagle Labs and you will find the hub there. There's a huge amount of free information. And then Leslie Taylor here, based in Aberdeen, as a local person that can help people along the way. And I'm sure many businesses online probably know Leslie because she's very well known in the community. So hopefully that gives you an insight into what Barclays are doing and the passion that Barclays has, setting aside the general provision of banking services. It's all about we are investing in the communities we work and live in, and there's lots that we're doing and more that we want to do, and we're keen to work with everybody in the council, in the businesses, etc., to continue to help with that. With that, I'll hand back to you, Tanita.
Thank you very much, Stuart.
Thank you very much.
Great to hear about the partnership working between Community Planning Aberdeen and Barclays, particularly around the Aberdeen Young Carers, and also to hear more about Eco Labs, so empowering those to gain skills needed for the future. So I'm delighted to pass over to our next speaker, Gordon Forbes, founder of Connect Golf Network and Business Development Manager at Newmarket Golf Club. Thank you.
Morning, everybody. I'm Gordon Forbes, Business Development Manager at Newmarket, founder of Connect Golf Network, and a little thing we call the TPI, which is the Technology Poverty Initiative. This came about with repurposing technology from companies into groups that need it. My wife is a PSA at Stonywood Primary School, and when we had discussions, she was back during COVID working in the hub, looking after children for key workers. It was really important that we just had this discussions about the children in need working from home, a lot of families maybe having one device, 2 or 3 children try to share that device, and their schooling kind of came into question that it wasn't really happening as it should. So from there, I came up with this concept. My wife thought it was a very good idea. We knew some people in education, talked to them about it. They thought it was fantastic. And it really started off with trying to source laptops and or sort of computers and get them to families in need. Off the back of that, we engaged with the council and finally connected with Tanita, who's been an absolute great support for this network. So if we move on, we then looked at basically through the business network trying to recycle and repurpose different types of technology. And then from there, it really started to grow through the golfing network that I'm involved in, and then connecting to the corporate world that are also in the golf world. So we looked at different companies. And it became very apparent that during the pandemic, a lot of companies were having to upscale their technology for this new world that we all live in. And a lot of these businesses don't seem to know what to really do with unwanted technology. And I found it quite surprising. Some do donate, some buy new equipment, but it was really interesting to speak to a few companies. If you look at laptops, monitors, computers, we had an interesting one with a smart board that was actually going into a skip. So when you look at that, you kind of think to yourself, well, there's got to be a lot out there. So with the companies that we got involved with, we looked at, wow, this is ridiculous. There's monitors going out, loads and loads of different things. So engaging, sending out emails, communicating to different businesses, we got a very, very good response. One company, just one office, was upscaling 300 monitors, and these were going in a skip. For me, I was really shocked at that and the other equipment that they were doing, but great to connect with them. We've now, if we move on to the next bit, we've now connected with loads of different groups, schools especially. I was really surprised to see that some of the schools have got very, very old technology. And again, I think that's important that we look at that and move that forward for our children's education. Groups like Foyer, Skills, Development Scotland, and even down to Instant Neighbour, where we've managed to not only repurpose computers, we've repurposed computer desks, because not everybody has a desk. So little things like that, community groups, getting people involved in working to get jobs, some charities as well. And I think there's a lot of sort of groups out there that really don't have the money to replace this equipment. If you just take what we replaced from one office into, if we move on to the next one, Dice Academy, they are a long-standing Aberdeen school. They were still using old television-style computer monitors. I don't think I've seen one of those in 15 years. So we managed to replace 70 monitors in there, keyboards, mice, even down to surge protection cables. And I think it's a great thing that the kids have now got decent screens to look at and progress. If we move on to the next, guys, the companies that have donated to us, Viscalis, very large company, they had a 2-meter smart board that was actually going in the skip. That's now at Dice Academy. Some of the smaller companies through the network, they have really engaged with providing just a phone, a printer, even just a laptop. A lot of these things have been repurposed into groups like Foyer Aberdeen. Foyer are desperate for laptops and they buy quite a lot of refurbished. There's a lot of companies out there that could donate these laptops to them, and rather than putting them in the bin, really, for me. So I think with the businesses that are out there, I think the issue for a lot of them is they actually don't know what to do with the equipment that they have. There's so much of it, they just end up putting it into the bin. So I think it's getting the message out there that we really need to engage with companies and maybe give them a pathway into getting this equipment out into vulnerable groups, charities and schools, etc., etc. So this is what we need to do. We need to grow this initiative and we need a lot of support. If we can move on as well. I would just like to say, I think if we all work together on this, I think we can really find a home for technology into families, businesses, charities, schools, etc., that really need it. And I don't know, who knows what we can achieve rather than putting it all in the bin. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Gordon.
Thank you, Gordon.
Great to hear about the groups who have benefited from the Technology Poverty Initiative that you've spearheaded. And so far we've heard some really interesting examples of the activities that business partners have taken to achieve our shared aims of strengthening our local economy. Now I'm very pleased to pass over to Martin Barry, Engagement Partner from Scottish Enterprise, who will share with you the progress Aberdeen is making towards becoming a living wage city.
Thank you, Tanita, and good morning, everyone. It's great to have the opportunity to speak with you all today about the exciting work that we're doing in promoting real living wage in Aberdeen. Now, I work within the Place team within Scottish Enterprise in Aberdeen, and as part of that role, I am our representative on Aberdeen Prospers, the Economy Outcome Improvement Group of Community Planning Aberdeen. Now, the role of Aberdeen Prospers is to ensure that those who are least engaged with the labour market or who benefit least from the city's prosperity are given opportunities to progress into fair, sustainable employment. And one of our key projects is to increase uptake of the real living wage and help Aberdeen achieve real living wage city status by 2026. So I want to talk to you today about why we're doing this, the benefits it can bring to individuals and businesses, and how it can help employers like yourselves play a part in helping to tackle poverty and associated issues in the city. If you can move on to the next slide. That's great, thanks. Sorry, can we go back a slide, please, Anita? Sorry. Good, thanks. So making Aberdeen a living wage city is a stated ambition within the local outcome improvement plan. And so during Living Wage Week last week, we announced our intention for Aberdeen to join the Making Living Wage Places scheme. Now, the real living wage movement is one that's gaining pace throughout the country. It was launched in 2019 and involves employers working together locally to promote the wage and accreditation. And it's a scheme that's growing in momentum, and in Scotland, Aberdeen is seeking to join Dundee, Edinburgh, Glenrothes and Eildon in the Scottish borders in their ambition to become living wage places and help tackle local poverty rates. So where are we just now? Next slide, please, Anita. Thanks. Well, last week saw the total number of living wage employers headquartered in Aberdeen reach 56 when Councillor Laying joined staff from Wood to celebrate their accreditation. And they've joined the 55 other employers in the city in demonstrating their commitment and leadership to solving low pay issues. So with the 56 employers, that means that over 24,000 workers in the city are covered by a real living wage commitment, and over 1,400 have seen an uplift in their wages as a result. And of course, there are many other organisations headquartered elsewhere in the country who have branches or depots and such like in the city that are accredited and whose staff benefit as a result. So this gives us a great baseline to work from and grow the movement in Aberdeen. So what is the real living wage and why is it needed? Next slide, please. So the new real living wage rate of £9.90 was announced on the 15th of November as part of Real Living Wage Week. And it's higher than the UK statutory minimum wage rates, including the UK government national living wage, which is set to increase to £9.50 per hour in April. Now, the real living wage is an independently calculated rate based on the cost of living and is paid voluntarily by employers. The rate's calculated each year in November by the Resolution Foundation on an analysis of the wage that employees need to earn in order to afford the basket of goods required for a decent standard of living. So this basket of goods includes housing, childcare, transport and heating costs. The real living wage applies to all employees over the age of 18, whereas the government wage only applies at the age of 23. Now, as it's been mentioned this morning, the general perception of Aberdeen is one of prosperity and affluence, but those perceptions can mask that large parts of the population do not benefit from that prosperity, and not everyone is on a high wage. Poverty and deprivation does exist in Aberdeen, and with the latest data from the Scottish Index of Multiple Deprivation showing that it's still very much an issue that we need to address. And to emphasise that, a statistic that stands out in the local outcome improvement plan is that 1 in 5 children in Aberdeen are living in poverty. That's 1 in 5. And a large proportion of those children are living in a household where at least one adult is in work. And I think that very much highlights the impact of low pay and in-work poverty. And it's also worth highlighting as well, I think, with the cost of living increasing, it's the lowest paid again who will really bear the brunt of that. Now, the real living wage in itself can't solve all of the problems we face with regard to poverty, but it is an important tool as part of the wider anti-poverty work being carried out in the city by the council and many, many others. And it's important we link into that and align ourselves, which is what we are doing. But being in employment should free people from the grip of poverty. But the reality is that for many workers, being employed does not guarantee financial security. In-work poverty is increasing, with many in the city unable to meet their everyday needs despite being in a job. And employment should pay, and data currently shows around 10% of working people in the city are paid less than the real living wage. And with that increasing cost of living, that could push more people into poverty and financial insecurity. So what difference can the real living wage make? Next slide, please. Well, on average, a full-time worker paid the real living wage will receive hundreds of pounds extra annually compared to a worker on the current government minimum wage. And it makes a real difference to people's lives. It's giving people extra money to deal with unexpected costs. It's giving people more after they've paid their household bills and food shopping. It's benefiting mental health. It's releasing people from the stress of money worries, having to take second jobs or work increased hours just to get by. And it's giving people quality of life. It's giving people the ability to enjoy things that others take for granted and being able to plan for the future. And there's an economic benefit as well. The Smith Institute recently published a report that said if just 25% of low earners had their pay increased to the real living wage, that increase could deliver a £3 million boost to Aberdeen's economy through increased spending from higher levels of disposable income. So it's something that can make a real difference to people's lives, but how can you, the employers of Aberdeen, help, and how can the real living wage help you? Next slide, please, Tanita. Thanks. Well, in a recent survey, 93% of accredited employers reported they had gained as a business since becoming accredited. The Living Wage Employer Network has also reported a wide range of business benefits, such as an enhanced company brand and brand reputation, improved retention rates resulting in savings in recruitment and training costs, reduction in absenteeism, improved loyalty and customer satisfaction, and following on from that, increased productivity from a workforce who feel valued. But overall, it sends a very strong signal of corporate social responsibility. Accredited employers have also reported increased numbers and quality of job applicants as they feel they stand out from their competitors and peers. It's also helping raise the profile of accredited organisations, and they are playing a leading role in helping tackle low pay and in-work poverty. But at the end of the day, it is about a fair day's pay for a fair day's work. We've been through a tough couple of years and we have to look after each other. Next slide, please. So you'll be joining a growing movement, one that's seen over 52,000 workers gain a pay rise as a result of their employers becoming accredited. That's resulted in £310 million in extra wages being paid to workers in Scotland since the movement began. And despite the challenges of COVID and economic headwinds, we've actually seen an increase in employers choosing to become accredited over the past 18 months or so, which is great news. Now, we're at the start of our journey, and we'll be working with Living Wage Scotland to pull together an action plan, and this is where you come in. We'll be in touch with accredited employers over the coming weeks as to how they can help shape our ambitions and support companies towards accreditation. But for those currently thinking about accreditation, please get in touch with Living Wage Scotland so they can work with you to discuss any issues you have and set out a plan to achieve accreditation. We'll also be asking accredited employers to help drive delivery through the action group being formed, which will help to tackle issues around in-work poverty and to make Aberdeen a place where everyone can prosper. Thank you and enjoy the rest of the event.
Thank you very much, Martin. I would just like to say a thank you to Councillor Lang, Alan, Michelle and our speakers, Stuart, Gordon and Martin, for our first session this morning. So I would encourage you to use the chat function if you want to reflect on what you've heard so far and put any questions into the chat. We'll now stop for a short comfort break, so please feel free to go and grab a glass of water, stretch your legs, and we'll come back at 11:10 for the next session, which will be around helping our children and young people. So look forward to you joining us then. Thank you. Hi everyone, hope you've enjoyed the brief comfort break. Thanks for joining us again for the second section of our programme, which focuses on activities that businesses have taken to help our children and young people, which is one of the key priorities in the local outcome improvement plan. So I'm delighted to introduce our next speaker, Kelly Sims, Community Impact Advisor at Robertson Group. So welcome, Kelly, and I'll just pass over to you to start off your slides.
Okay, thank you, Teresa. Thank you everyone for inviting me along today to this business event, and I'm Kelly Sims from Robertson Group. I'm a Community Impact Advisor. Got the next slide, please. So this slide illustrates all the key themes for us of everything that we do within the community, with schools and all our local stakeholders. So for us, it's about understanding our local priorities in meeting the needs of the clients and the stakeholders, and agreeing key themes and outcomes and measures. So procurement planning, that's really important to us as well. So addressing these and with our local suppliers and SMEs, SEs and supported businesses. We also support employability and upskilling of our workforce, so ensuring that training and recruitment opportunities are identified to support highly skilled and making sure it's an inclusive and diverse workforce. We're responsive and proactive in everything that we do at Robertson, so working with key stakeholders to share information and ensure that successes as well as challenges are learned from in everything that we do. And measuring and reporting, this is really important that we capture all this information, all the good work that we do at Robertson's, and using our systems and tools to ensure that we've got a robust approach when delivering these outcomes, and it's all of the collective goals for the projects and sharing reports with clients and stakeholders. Next slide. I just wanted to put this slide up just to show you that what Robertson's Responsible 2030 business targets are. So by 2030, our people, we want to enhance 10,000 lives, which is pretty, it seems a high number, but we'll definitely get there. Our partners, we want to deliver over £1 billion worth of social value, and our planet, we want to become climate positive. So this is for 2020, 2021. And as you can see here, this was, as everyone's always said, that last year was a really challenging year for everybody during the pandemic. So you can see by enhancing our lives of people, we delivered 259 work placements, which I think you can all agree is pretty outstanding, considering we was, working from home and the challenges of not, young people and people not being able to get out physically and work out on the site. So it's a pretty impressive number. We've got a lot of work to do with our planet and being climate positive. We've made significant changes at Robertson's, and we've got a long way to go, as every business has, with being climate positive. We want to reduce our carbon footprint as much as we can, and we need to achieve over 4 million tonnes of carbon footprint. So we've done little changes within the business. So our offices, we've made huge changes within our energy supplier. Our cabins are eco-friendly, and we've also in the process of changing our fleet to electric vehicles. So little changes, but we're going to our bigger goal of 2030, and as is everyone in terms of the government as well. So next slide, Tanita. So education, I'm going to speak about education, employability and communities. So we engage with our education to provide curriculum enhancement. So we complement and enrich the delivery by using STEM. Every single activity that we do in Robertson's can be linked back to STEM in some way. I'm a STEM ambassador for Robertson. So we use this we deliver projects through classroom-based activities. We do this through workshops, working alongside our projects. We offer career support and site visits and practical input where we can. And suitable work experiences. We're now actually allowed to have physical work placements back on the site, which is exciting. One of the programs, which I'll explain in a minute, was virtual, which we had to be, you know, tech savvy. I'm not the best at technology, but was involved in creating a programme for young people, especially in schools and colleges and universities, of bringing construction to you, which we're really proud of that we did that, and that was how I was able to meet virtual work placements. We also go into as young as nurseries. I've got Dave the Bear, which is as big as me, with his full PP on. So we go out into nurseries and promote the industry as much as we can, speak about health and safety, and let the young little children put all the PP on and that. So promoting the industry as much as we can. And we want to do that and go into schools as much as we can, in colleges and universities, to, you know, seek out potential new talents and promote the industry as much as we can, for both the business and the industry, and obviously learn lessons learned and obviously reach everybody's goals. So an example of that is we have just partnered up with St Maca Academy, and we've partnered up with Nescol, and we are running our foundation apprenticeship, which is absolutely fantastic for level 4 and level 5 young people and students. Level 4 are not quite ready to go out on a work placement yet, so level 5 are basically with us for the next year. So we've currently took on 9 work placements at all different sites across the city, and it's going fantastic. The feedback we're getting is excellent. These young people are, you know, they're driven. They want a role or an opportunity within the construction industry. The work-based challenge, that will be something that will create a lasting legacy. So, you know, working with our local communities who are, you know, some are quite vulnerable and have not got much in like a community garden or whatsoever. So we're thinking of creating our benches, some some planters for the local community, and things like that. So it's a partnership between us also. We also, in the depth of the pandemic, was contacted by Aberdeenshire Council to see if we could support some business foundation apprenticeships, because of the situation with the pandemic, that unfortunately they couldn't take on the placements any further. So they still had like 3 projects to do and a few tasks to do as well. So I was like, yeah, no worries, we can sort of totally do that. And that was really successful. We took them on for 14 weeks, and basically they met with everybody from senior, you know, the business directors, right down from pre-construction into construction. So a wealth of knowledge about how the business runs and how the business operates. So yeah, that was really successful. I just sharing some photographs with you because I'm a visual learner, and I love a photograph. So these are just photos of the foundation apprenticeships. Which is Jaden is in the middle, and there was actually no room for Jaden on the course, and Jaden's a girl, by the way, and you know, our industry is very male orientated, and that's something that I really want to drive, is to encourage women into our industry. And she wants to be a painter and decorator. So I actually went back to the business and said, look, we've got a young lady who's really keen. We need to encourage more women in our industry. And yeah, we took her on. So she's currently been at Burnside Gardens doing hanging doors, as you can see in another picture there. She's been hanging doors with the joiners, and she's been with the painters and decorators. So absolutely loving it. And you can see there the other young people have been making like mock-up walls, and they've painted a bench for the NHS staff garden. So really good. Thank you, Tanita. This is Hugh and Joe. These was from doing the business foundation apprenticeship, and I just thought I'd put that up. That was just at the end when they finished, and they was really happy that they'd completed the course. So a bit of feedback from them. I'm not going to go through the feedback, but just saying that they'd learned a variety of skills with us, and both young people had said that they would actually consider our career within construction. So that for me was just fantastic. So because people just think construction is your basic trade, so it's really not. We've got a whole construction team before that. So employability, so providing opportunities for employability groups to benefit our projects. So we partner up with local employability providers. I don't call them providers, they are my partners. Like I work with them. I've worked with them for the last 4 years. I was at Schmooth previously, and I've created that partnership up over the last 8 years that I've been in Aberdeen. So absolutely fantastic relationships with all my employability partners across the city. And again, just about learning doing different experiences, giving them, you know, CV skills, hitting the hard reach people across the city. I've recently done our construction campaign over the last year, which was virtual, and I did a construction campaign which was run over 5 weeks for 5 days, and I've also done our insight into construction, which was again over 5 days, and that was sessions such as an insight into a construction company, a project, day in the life of a project manager. I also did a CV application, interview skills, again with hard to reach people and people that are quite vulnerable, especially people that work for our service users for the foyer. And a really good case study, and I've not put a photo on, and I wish I would have now, is when I run this course, a young man had come on to my course. He was 15 minutes early, so I was like going on Teams 15 minutes before, and we was chatting away, and his dad's in construction, and cut a long story short, he came and he was brilliant. He was asking questions. I then further supported him with a CV, and I got him in for a chat, and he did a 4-week placement with us. Matthew has been out of employment for over a year, and not had the best start in life, got in with the wrong crowd when he was at school and left with no qualifications. So we got him in and he was absolutely fantastic. Didn't tell him that there could be a position, so just wanted to see how he would do on site, but he was absolutely fantastic, and he's now an apprentice for us, an apprentice joiner. And that's only happened recently, so absolutely fantastic, and the foyer couldn't thank us enough for giving him that opportunity. So yeah, and that was a little bit of feedback from, sorry, Tanita, just go back for a minute. This was why I was running my sessions. I wanted to maximise that out. So I also asked a DWP as well, if there are any service users that would want to come along, or clients that want to come along to that and needed any support with any CVs or basically some work experience. So yeah, and that was just a quote from Gillian, just saying that it was really well organised, and they actually brought some of their staff along because they had new staff starting for the job centre, and they wanted just some skills for upskilling their staff about CVs and interviews and things like that. So I was like, yeah, bring them along. It's no problem. So thank you, Tanita. And community, so this is at the heart of everything that we do at Robertson's. We work with residents and local community groups of the surrounding projects to listen and to understand the needs and maximise these opportunities to support their aspirations in the community. So we can do this by a range of options. So again, I know Gordon was talking about you know, giving laptops and giving, you know, desks and things like that. Well, during the pandemic, we needed single desks at the site, and 2 of my projects have just finished, so Science and Teaching over in Burnside Gardens, and there was 60 desks there, and I'm like, oh, no, they're not going anywhere but to me. And I contacted ACFO and Donside Community, Jane Fullerton, and 30 of them went to the local residents down at Donside, and she sent me a photo last week of a young man who goes to St Macra Academy, and I should have put the picture on actually because she's given me a thing, but the picture was him on his desk with his laptop and an office chair that we give him as well, and that to me just makes everything that I do worthwhile. Like she said, we've made one little boy really happy, so absolutely fantastic. Yeah, we do that by obviously donating materials. We do that by giving our facilities our time and expertise and information sessions, mentoring sessions, employability sessions, and volunteering hours as well. So we've got a site at Donside, which we're literally 2 meters away from the local residents. So I go around, do a bit of networking. I went to the local shop, met the lady in the shop, met local dog walkers, and I've also been in some committee meetings with Jane on the committee board meeting. And one of the things was, as you can see by the photographs, is what they call the local barn, which was installed in the first development, and it's a place that the residents sit and basically socialise. Unfortunately, some, I'm not saying who because I'm not being age discrimination, but someone had graffitied it and vandalised it and damaged some of the slats and damaged some of the barn. So I went back to my site team and said, look, can we basically fix this? Can we paint it? And the answer was, of course, yeah. So a bit of volunteering, got a joiner in, as you can see, doing the slats. And Cammy, actually, the foundation apprenticeship who was on there, he actually helped as well. So again, giving back to the community. And the comments that Jane had posted, she actually came down and had a paintbrush in her hand and took photographs of us doing this, and it just means so much to the community that we was able to give that back to the community, and people can actually enjoy it. And that was done about 2 months ago, and it's still not been vandalised now. If it is, what we're going to do is we're going to pay for a graffiti artist, and we're actually going to get the young people to come along and actually do it themselves. If they want to graffiti it, let's do it professionally. So that's what we're going to do. But up to date, it hasn't been vandalised or graffitied. So yeah, we're all good. Next slide. And then the last side, because I can talk forever, is just basically our local stakeholder mapping. So project planning. So obviously we're the hub, so we've got a lot of jobs coming up for the council. So they're our main partner. And then just a selection of employability and education partners, which I think visually, if you see this, is probably about 60 more I could add on to this one. These are just the main ones. And again, just a selection of local third sector partners. So thank you for listening today, and I'll just hand you back over to Tanita. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Kelly. Great to hear the case studies and such a wide range of activities, community benefits delivered by Robertson, and the close partnership working. Really, and just to say, some of the feedback in the chat is it's really great to hear some of those examples and making difference to young people's lives. So thank you very much. So I'd like to now pass over, I'm delighted to introduce John Cairns as Social Impact Advisor at Balfour Beatty.
Excellent. Thank you, Tanita. Morning, everyone. Delighted to be involved in this event and hear so many inspiring stories from local businesses in Aberdeen. My name's John Cairns. I'm a Social Impact Advisor for Balfour Beatty, covering the north of Scotland and working across Aberdeen and Aberdeenshire. I just wanted to start quickly with just some context to Balfour Beatty are. We've been incredibly proud to deliver some hugely critical infrastructure projects in Aberdeen over the last 5 years, which has included the Furdon Crossing, the improvement works at the Aberdeen International Airport, being the joint venture partner on the AWPR, constructing the new Lockside Academy. And then in terms of our current presence in Aberdeen, we've got the ongoing maintenance and operations contract of the AWPR. So we've got a team based out of Craveston, and we're also very proud to be delivering Union Terrace Gardens regeneration in the city centre at the minute as well. But today I was hoping to speak to about two things. So just talking about our work with engaging our future workforce and also our work with community groups. So just a little bit about our work with education. As Kelly's mentioned, it's been incredibly challenging for all businesses to continue our engagements with education in the same way that we used to do before the pandemic. And we've had to come up with creative ways of maintaining that engagement over the last 12 months. And one of our primary focuses has been on developing a virtual work experience programme. So over the past 12 months, we've ran free 5-week virtual work experience programmes, which we've offered out to all schools across Scotland. And at the heart of it, what I was hoping to achieve was we wanted young people to achieve the same accreditation that they would have gained if they came on one of our sites. So when we do work experience, we're partnered with the Industrial Cadet Certification Scheme, which is managed by Engineering Development Trust. And we worked with Engineering Development Trust to accredit our virtual work experience programme. So all the pupils which completed all 5 weeks of the course received a silver industrial cadet certificate. So to date, I think we're up at 104 young people in the last 12 months across Scotland. But we're delighted that 15 of those pupils were within Aberdeen. So they've all gained industrial cadet certificate despite everything that's been going on over the last 12 months. So that's been, there was a group at St Marker, there's been pupils from Cults, Bucksburn, Aberdeen Grammar, Lockside Academy, and we've worked with a variety of pupils across Aberdeen to gain certification. Sitting alongside that as well, we were reacting during the last 12 months. We ran a 5-month virtual work experience programme with North East Scotland College, and that was working with civil engineer foundation apprenticeship students. So we were delighted to just fill that gap that was sort of left while businesses couldn't host education work placements in the same way that we would have been able to, businesses would have been able to have done before COVID. One of the second area which is hugely important for us is mentoring support. I think there's huge opportunities for businesses to engage with local mentoring schemes. So I've been very proud to be a career ready mentor for the last 4 years, supporting 4 young people to complete the 2-year project if they stay on to complete the full length of the programme. So it's a long-term commitment to supporting young people that aren't quite sure about what they want to do while they're at school, and to provide that support, guidance, and I guess exposure to different business environments through long-term mentoring schemes. So Career Ready are really prominent in Aberdeen. I know Kelly's been involved in the programme in the city. So there's opportunities there. We've also just started engaging with MCR pathways in Aberdeen. My colleague's now a mentor for a young person at St Macar, and that's focused specifically on care experienced young people. So again, we're delighted to support MCR pathways, and we're working hard to encourage other staff to engage with those mentoring schemes. And then finally, for any businesses that are on the call that want to get involved in linked with education, if you're not already, there's a fabulous group, DYW, Developing Young Workforce North East team, based out at the Chamber of Commerce. So you've got Mary Holland, Hannah, Martin and the full team. There's DYW coordinators connected with all schools in Aberdeen. And they would help you facilitate conversations with schools if you're interested in offering career talks or work placements in the future. So we do lots with DYW North East. We've got events scheduled in January with Old Macar Academy and Cox Academy. So there's lots of exciting discussions going on just now through DYW. But if you're on the call and you're a business, you want to get involved with a school in Aberdeen, have a chat with the DYW North East team. And then just some visuals to give you a picture of the last 12 months. I guess these are visuals that a lot of people will be familiar with, usual teams, events, virtual site tours. We've been trying to create learning at home resources for young people to complete as well. So we've just been trying to adapt as best as we can, just to give young people, to try and still get young people excited about working in construction and engineering. And then, so looking ahead to 2022, what are our aspirations? We're really keen to raise awareness of funding support for businesses. There's a lot of support out there through DWP, through the Kickstart scheme, through EBZ Works, through Skills Development Scotland in terms of apprenticeship funding, adopting apprenticeship funding. So we're trying to collate all that information as well as use it, share it with our huge supply chain, just to get all the businesses that we're working with clued up on the various funding streams which are out there, because there's a lot of support being put in nationally to get young people back into work. So I think it's important that business has an awareness of the funding that's out there. Working really hard to promote innovations with new technologies. I was lucky enough in October to be part of our COP26 events, our sustainability showcase events down in Shotts, our depot, our plant and fleet depot, and I've seen all the new electric, hydrogen, alternative fuel vehicles that are coming into the industry. And I'm really enthusiastic about continuing those conversations with schools next year to hopefully enthuse young people to work in construction and use these new innovations. We're launching some new education resources. We've been working closely with Skills Development Scotland. So in 2022, in January, we've got a drones in construction workshop that's launching that will be available for all schools in Aberdeen. It will be a new resource where young people can get to use education drones and learn about how drones are being used in construction. And we're also going to be launching a virtual reality module, which again will be open to all schools in Aberdeen, and it'll be a resource of virtual reality headsets that schools can borrow to get a real insight into one of our construction sites. And then finally, just continuing that piece around supporting local work placements. as Kelly's mentioned, the transition's sort of slowly moving back towards physical work placements. Although I think virtual work experience will always have a place, but we're working hard with schools, North East Scotland College and RGU to facilitate work placements in 2022. And again, these are some of the images more pre-COVID, but these are sort of what we're hoping will be returning spring 2022, more in-school engagements, face-to-face, letting young people get hands-on with some of the technologies that we use. And then just finally, just some of the local community engagements that we've been delivering in Aberdeen over the last 12 months. A lot of businesses support litter picking events through conversations with Tanita. I think we're put in touch with Lorna Graham within the waste, she's one of the operations managers in the waste department. Aberdeen City Council will have litter pickers that you can borrow if you're organising litter picking events. So that kind of made it quite easy for us to run litter picking sessions over the last 12 months in the city centre and at the beach, and we'd be hoping to continue that next year. But yeah, just having access to that resource made it a lot easier to facilitate. We've been working on community improvement projects. We want to do more in 2022. We did a small piece out with Instant Neighbour, improving their outdoor space. I guess we're in quite a fortunate position. We've got access to some kit, be it blowers and hedge trimmers, etc. So we've got the equipment and been able to pull together a small group to spend a day at a charity. It's an easier thing for us to do. So we're hoping to do that more next year as well. And also through conversations with Tanita, we've been looking at ways we can donate some materials that we've got. As has been mentioned earlier this morning, that could be things like PC monitors, IT equipment. We've had some recent examples. It was surplus timber and pallets, where Tanita put us in touch with the Spring Hill Community Garden Food Growing Group. And they were using the pallets to construct fencing, to create planters, flower beds, etc. So it was amazing going up to we delivered the materials to the site, and it was amazing to see the setup that was in the local community in Spring Hill. We've also donated some of our pallets to Children's First as well in the last couple of months. And then finally, just I'm sure a lot of businesses are focusing just now on Christmas donation campaigns. So the next 4 or 5 weeks, we've always worked quite closely with Cash for Kids in terms of collecting presents on site and volunteering during their Christmas drive. And we're also collecting some items just now on our sites for the homeless, which will be donated to Aberdeen City Names just before Christmas. So lots of exciting stuff going on at the minute in the run up to Christmas. But that was me. Contact details are on the screen. If you follow me on Twitter, if you want to reach out, or if you've got any further questions, just let me know. But thank you very much. I'll pass you back to Tanita.
Great, thank you. Thank you, John. It was really informative, and just to say thank you for those kind of practical examples of how businesses can make a positive impact for our communities. So in our third section of today's programme, we'll now turn to how businesses can help our place. And we have Hannah Lawson, Business Development Specialist at Worley, joining us this morning. So I'll pass over to you as well, Hannah. Thanks.
Thank you. As some of you who are more observant might notice, I'm not Dan McAteer, who I think is on many people's agenda. Unfortunately, he couldn't make it today. And it's quite nice for myself to be here. I grew up just outside the city, and I've been at Worley for just over 2 years now, almost 2.5 years, I think. I started in the conventional energy side of the business and made the move around 8-9 months ago now to the low carbon energy team. A journey that I'm sure many people in Aberdeen will be on in the coming years. And I know we've talked already today about a just and the importance of a just transition. So next slide, please. So who are we? Who are Worley and what do we do? We're a worldwide team of consultants, engineers, construction workers and data scientists working together to deliver a more sustainable world. We work across the energy, chemicals and resources sectors, with our Aberdeen hub being focused on energy. And that's where this purpose comes from. One team, one energy, driving beyond the energy transition to deliver a sustainable future. Next slide. So we're really here today to talk about some of the things that we've been doing to support the Aberdeen community. And it's something that aligns nicely with myself to start with, is the graduate programme. As I was taken on as a graduate 2 years ago. The graduate programme creates a community of graduates in our company, connecting each other globally across the organisation, different disciplines, cultures, backgrounds, allowing skills to be shared and developed across the company, unlocking the potential of having a global reach and local knowledge. The programme has the same foundational competencies for all graduates, so you have the same experience of the programme no matter where you're based and how many graduates are based at your location. We have a number of graduates, apprentices, technicians in Aberdeen who work on a varied selection of projects, including in Sweden, Ireland, the Gulf of Mexico, and of course the North Sea. And across sectors, as I've already mentioned, such as low carbon energy and conventional energy, giving graduates the opportunity to see how we can use our vast amount of experience in delivering major projects in Aberdeen to support people across the globe. And also it's worth mentioning interns. We took our first UK-wide approach to internships this year. As a trial, we hired 5 interns across the UK, one of whom was based in Aberdeen. Claudia got on fantastically, absolutely loved the company, loved getting to know everyone, and loved getting to experience the digital side of our business, which is a really exciting and growing part. We intend to run this programme again next year, but expanding it further to hopefully take on around 20 interns, which is part of supporting our stronger two-way communications between universities, where we learn from them and they can also learn from us. Next slide, please. Another thing that I'm personally involved with, and I think this picture of Dan was actually up earlier, is the Environment Committee in Aberdeen. I've led this group for around 18 months, and this includes promotion of litter picks, some of them pre-lockdown, some of them actually what we called virtual litter picks. So you still have to go out and pick litter, but you're all just kind of doing it in your own backyard or on your local walks during lockdown. We also purchased some equipment for this, so we have this available to all our staff to rent out in our Aberdeen office. We've also done things, oh sorry, back one slide. We've also done things such as raising money for Fair Trade Fortnight and working on ensuring we have sustainable office practices. One of the things I actually remembered while I was sitting here, we moved some equipment out of an office and our requirements of desks and monitors all completely changed. And instead of disposing of that, we actually offered it up to our workforce. So people were able to donate to a local charity, and then they were able to go in and get a nice office chair and desk and whatever else they needed. I certainly filled my car with stuff. So all part of being more sustainable in our office practices. And one of the things I was also talking about earlier is reducing our printing as well. And finally, we've already mentioned Christmas, so I can say it now. From a CSR point of view, we've also included, we've also raised money in the past for local food banks, and we'll do so in the future in the lead up to Christmas. Next slide. As well as creating pledges to support things like International Women's Day and No Wrong Path, we encourage people to speak openly about their experiences and offer various points of entry into our early careers community. Our early careers group in Aberdeen, for example, includes trainees, the interns when they were with us, graduates, entry-level jobs and technicians. Moreover, our STEM networks, our STEM committee operates across the UK, working with local STEM initiatives and local schools and universities to ensure we're sharing our own career journeys, because none of them are the same. Next slide, please. And one of Dan here filming for a COP26 initiative. This was filmed, this video was filmed as part of the local young professionals branch of the Energy Institute's Future Energy 500 road trip around Scotland. We were proud to sponsor and support the creation of this video, which premiered at COP and shone a light on parts of the northeast of Scotland and the industry and all the work going on here. Next slide. So a little bit more about COP, which is something that I was quite closely involved with. We split our actions into two parts. So we wanted to engage more with the industry and also engage with schools and young people. Engaging with the industry included sponsoring the video that I've already mentioned. Our CEO also hosted a roundtable event with various partners and stakeholders. And our Advision part of our consulting part of our company hosted Countdown to COP webinars and also has hosted some post-COP 26 webinars as well. And they're available for anyone to watch. With the engaging with schools, which is what I was mainly involved with, we ran 3 competitions. So really it was about engaging with young people. One of those competitions was internal, ensuring that our early careers workforce understand what COP is and what it means for our company and for our people. We ran one externally aimed at primary school kids. This was run with developing the young workforce again, who have been spoken about earlier. And they designed a mural for our Glasgow office. And we hope to work more with DYW in the future, who we already work with in Aberdeen and Glasgow. And another competition that we ran was is under the section Save Our Planet there. How do we retrofit our world for a circular economy? We threw this question out to university students, and they were invited to produce an innovative technology or idea or concept. And this was won by 4 students who will be joining us next year for an internship, because we're looking at different ways of getting people into the company. This wasn't just targeted at engineers, this was targeted at what we call STEAM. So you've got your kind of standard STEM acronym, but you've also added the arts in there as well. I always think it's worth mentioning that I'm not an engineer or a scientist, and I don't intend on being an engineer or scientist. So I think it's really important to run competitions and to show our young people that there are a number of different ways that you can get involved and work in a company like Worley and work in the energy industry. And finally, I think, I've missed TechFest, of course. We were involved with and sponsored the energy transition topic at TechFest and linked the students that were involved in that to our experts. And then finally, Worley managed to build a video showcasing children and young adults from around the world asking and answering questions related to climate change and the energy transition. Next slide. So to close, I thought it was worthwhile pulling up our values. We value life. The health and safety and well-being of our people is paramount. Without it, nothing else matters. We're ready to rise to this challenge with innovative solutions for complex problems. And we're aware that to achieve the best results, we must work together collaboratively. We are stronger together. Finally, and hopefully some of our projects have shown this, we are ready to unlock brilliance by valuing, sharing and growing our expertise amongst all different generations in and out of our company. This hasn't gone unnoticed, and we're grateful to have been shortlisted this year for the OG UK Energy Transition Award 2021. Thank you, and I look forward to any questions you do have later.
Thank you very much, Hannah. Great to hear about the activities and work Worley are taking part in relation to sustainability and the environment. Now, our final speaker of this morning session is Emily Stone, who's joining us virtually. Emily is a Climate and Sustainability Business Development Manager, and she's going to be talking us through the Net Zero Toolkit, which will be of interest. We've talked a lot about the transition, environment and sustainability. So Emily, I will pass over to you. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Tanita. And I'm sorry I can't join you guys there in person today. I actually have another virtual event after this, talking about something ever so slightly different. So I'm going to try not to mix up my presentations too much. If I end up talking about the other climate work that Edinburgh Science is doing, I'll try and rein myself in. But it's all very interesting to hear about, I hope. So yeah, as Tanita said, what I'm going to talk to you about today is a resource called the Net Zero Toolkit, which we've actually developed. If I could have the next slide, please. So we are, just quick background on us really and why we're developing this resource. We're a little bit different to the other organisations that have been speaking today about some really inspirational projects. We're actually the charity which runs the Edinburgh Science Festival, which happens normally every Easter on a COVID-free average year. So we kind of, in our work with across the science, technology, engineering sectors, we kind of meet a lot of people from many different businesses, whether they're our funders, whether they are people who are helping us put science festival or learning events together. We actually have quite a strong convening power to bring people together. So one thing we established in 2019 was a series of roundtable meetings with senior leaders to kind of collaborate and come up with tangible solutions for the climate crisis. So one project that we were actually commissioned to do by Baillie Gifford, who are now the main funder for this project, was the Net Zero Toolkit. Next slide, please. So the Net Zero Toolkit is essentially, it's an online resource which encompasses carbon management in general within 8 steps. So it's kind of designed to be a starting point for a small business or for a business of any size. It's kind of applicable across the board. But it acts as a starting point to help your business get to net zero. So it's particularly useful for those businesses who perhaps are, fairly busy. They're a bit under-resourced. They don't have any kind of dedicated sustainability team, but they're looking to get started on reducing their emissions, setting some net zero targets, finding out what their baseline is, and of course, taking the actions to actually get going on heading toward net zero. So through the Net Zero Toolkit, for each of the 8 steps, I'll talk through what they are exactly in a minute, but we provide kind of prompts which give you a good outline of the kind of information that you need to be looking at to find out what your emissions are and therefore subsequently lower them. We then provide a kind of guidance document which walks you through how to carry out the actions related to each step. And finally, we link to a kind of curated pool of resources which can actively help you kind of carry out each step. So for example, that might be links to consultancy businesses that can help you. There might be links to government funding. We aim to kind of refresh those and update those every 6 months, just to ensure that we're kind of signposting to a kind of concise, succinct frame of resources. There's a lot out there on the internet. It can be quite overwhelming for businesses. So the toolkit is designed to kind of accelerate you without having to go through all of the kind of research yourself. If I could have the next slide, please. So why are we targeting this at SMEs? Well, we realise SMEs kind of together are a really powerful force for change, making up 99% of the UK business population and over 60% of the workforce. That's a lot of people that are actually encompassed by SMEs. However, we realise, of course, sometimes SMEs have a lot of competing priorities, whether that's recovering from the pandemic, carrying out day-to-day operations, carbon management is increasingly, going up people's priority lists, but it may not quite be at the top just yet. So also, in theory, it's perhaps easier to make change in a smaller organisation. You've got kind of less of a big structure to kind of drag along that change curve with you. But that, just because it might be easier from an outsider perspective does not mean that it's easy at all. So that's why we've designed the Net Zero Toolkit to help you through that. Next slide, please. Thank you. So just quickly wanted to talk through what the 8 steps of the Net Zero Toolkit are. The first step is kind of looking at your kind of reason really for undertaking a Net Zero Toolkit, undertaking a carbon management plan. It's looking at how climate change impacts your business specifically. So that could be, for example, if you're more prone to flooding, that could be the direct impacts of climate change on your business, or it could be impacts that you might feel further down the supply chain. So actually kind of calculating your risk assessment, fleshing out what those risks to your business are, and that can make a kind of stronger business case for managing your emissions. The second step focuses on running your business on 100% renewable energy. So whether that's kind of including microgeneration renewables on your site or switching to a clean energy supplier. The third step looks at your heating systems, your building insulation, links you to information around how you can decarbonise your building operation emissions. The fourth step talks you through how you can switch your fleet to be zero emission essentially, and looks at your transport emissions in other areas too. The fifth step looks kind of more broadly at your kind of business specific emissions. So the kind of things that arise from your activities which take place away from a main site, and kind of figures out how you can quantify those and then start reducing those. The sixth step talks you through how you set zero emissions targets with links to science-based targets and resources to help you set those targets. The seventh step talks about how you can ensure your finances, so your pensions, perhaps your investments, your business savings are invested with an investor who's actually investing those finances sustainably on your behalf. And the final step is about how you can communicate what you're doing and encourage other partner businesses, suppliers, even customers to take action. Next slide, please. So that's just a really quick glance inside the toolkit there, with the steps kind of along the top. The big kind of guidance notes button takes you to the document that is kind of showcased below. You've got a number of links there. This is in the example of step 5, which actually has quite a high number of links to ways which can help you, energy management handbooks, for example. So the toolkit really is a kind of pool of resources, just designed to be a kind of a hub, really, a platform for you to start your carbon management journey. Next slide, please. So in terms of how it can help, the toolkit helps you to kind of know what you're net zeroing. So to figure out what your carbon benchmark is. So to figure out what your starting point is, essentially, and then that can help you work out, pinpoint areas where work is really needed, pinpoint areas that you can work on right now, pinpoint areas which are perhaps going to be a bit trickier for you. It also supports practical action by providing numerous tools and resources that you can actually use to not only identify where the action needs to be taken, but to carry out that action as well. It allows you to summarise your carbon management plans. So every piece of information that you put into the toolkit will be saved on there. You can then download this at the end, which can be quite useful if you're, for example, submitting a bid to, I don't know, a local authority or something along those lines. You can submit that as a supporting document. And finally, it helps you to kind of gain confidence when you identify where you can take action, when you start to see the possibilities. That can really kind of propel you along your carbon management journey. Next slide, please. So the Net Zero Toolkit, we are also kind of aiming to open up dialogue, not only by connecting you to charities and businesses that can help you through the toolkit resources, but we're also establishing some kind of networking events. We held one back in October called Get Net Zero, actually just kind of having businesses together in the room discussing the issues that they're facing, some of them potentially being able to solve each other's problems is really, really helpful. And networking events like this can also perhaps form the foundation of new partnerships, which can then grow into something which can be, you know, mutually beneficial for businesses looking to get to net zero. Obviously, I'll skip over these two because I think you're all aware that reducing your carbon can potentially make financial savings, as well as keeping your business competitive. And yeah, the Net Zero Toolkit encourages SMEs to aim for a net zero by 2040 target. So it's aligned with the Scottish Government's commitments of a net zero across the board by 2045. There's a few quick endorsements there, but I'll leave you to read those when the slides get sent out, because I think we've only got about 1 minute left. So if we could just go on to the final slide. Yeah, I've got details of the organisations that actually support this project through funding here, as well as my contact details. If you'd like to know any more information about the Net Zero Toolkit, just get in touch with myself. Thanks very much.
Thank you, Emily, and I'm sure attendees will be interested in following up with you further to discuss the toolkit. So thank you for sharing information and resources with us this morning. And I'd now like to pass to the Q&A. As Emily mentioned, we are running slightly over in time. We've got our panel, and I'm just going to, if you bear with me a second, go back to our panelists and speakers. And for those that have shared questions in the chat, I think there was one earlier from Vivian who'd asked around, are we getting slides after the event? And I wanted to just double check with speakers that they were happy to do so. So we're recording this session this morning, so you're able to watch back if there were particular speakers or examples that you want to draw upon. But I just wanted to check with Michelle and the speakers in the room there if they're happy for the slides to be distributed afterwards.
Yep, thanks, Tanita. We're getting lots of thumbs up and nods, so I think everyone's happy to share their slides. As you say, we are at time now, so I think what we were thinking we would do, because we've ran over a wee bit, is if attendees want to put any further questions they have in the chat, we will make sure you get a response after the event today, either in writing or we might do a little video message to you. So if that's okay, please continue to pop your messages in the chat until we close. But I think that will just take us now to hand over to Councillor Lane.
Yes, just to say a thank you to those that have participated in the 3 polls that we've shared in the chat. So those were around what attracted you to attend the event today, also if it's inspired you and if it's made you consider working more closely with Community Planning Aberdeen. So I just wanted to thank you for participating in the poll and echo Michelle's comments about any questions you want to add in, please do so. So yeah, I will now pass over to Councillor Lang for closing remarks. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Tanita. And as Michelle said, we've run slightly over today, but I hope you'll all agree with me that it's been well worthwhile just to hear directly from our speakers today about the fantastic work that is currently ongoing within the city. I would like to extend my thanks to Stuart from Barclays, Gordon from Connect Golf Network, Kelly from Robertson's, John from Balfour Beatty, and Hannah from Worley, because I think we can really appreciate them taking the time out this morning to share with us the wonderful work that they've been doing on the ground and some really inspiring stories, which I know have inspired a number of you to make comments in the chat as well. Thanks also to business in the community who continue to work with Community Planning Aberdeen to help us reach out and connect with local and national businesses. And finally, thanks to our speakers from our community planning team, Scottish Enterprise and Edinburgh Science for sharing just some examples of the many ways businesses can work with Community Planning Aberdeen to make things better for our city. Listening to all the speakers today and reflecting on how far we've come in a relatively short time, I'm left feeling very positive about what we can continue to achieve together. I think it's clear that we have all the drive, passion and commitment we need for success, and I get a real sense that we're building something really special which can help to secure the future of the city. So thanks to all the attendees who've pledged their support to work with us in the chat today. I think that's inspired me as well, and I'm sure Michelle and the team will be happy to get in touch with you after the event. We'll be sure to follow up with you individually, as I say, as soon as we can. You can also contact us via the link which are showing on the screen. So that just really leaves me to close the event this morning. And thank you once again for joining us today. And I certainly hope that we get the opportunity to work with you all as we move forward. Thanks very much for your time.